All right. Welcome, everybody, to Friday Night Live, the Friday the 13th edition. Ed Stark made it right online, right under the wire, with 2 seconds to go.
Was there any doubt?
There was. We were wondering where you were.
His black cats must have been giving him problems.
No, I had a little cooking emergency. I'm getting ready for a vacation, and I'm putting some stuff together for our dinner party, and things were not coming out quite right. So timing was a little off, but it's all done.
Where are you going on vacation?
Up in your neck of the woods. I'm going to Stone Harbor, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is up in my neck of the woods, so to speak, or down in my neck of the woods for probably most of our watchers.
Yeah.
And I am up in Utica, New York.
I saw some pictures.
Central New York RPG Con, the inaugural Central New York RPG Con. I'm running a couple of events tomorrow and auctioneering the auction. So should be a good time here tomorrow, hopefully. And I'm excited to run my games and have some fun. So we'll see.
What are you going to run this time?
I am running Tomb of the Ancient Moor King, and I'm running the beautiful village of Floral Hill.
Nice.
So no, it's a good one.
Are you writing that one on at page 2?
Yeah, actually, that the Tomb of the Forgotten Moor King will be available in print at Page. Working very hard on that to get that ready. We've got Chet Minton involved and Baron Durop and some others.
Is that your signature adventure for Page?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna have to play when I go.
All right. Well, things open up on July 1st, and
I know.
I'm running it as a charity game on Thursday night, and I'm super excited about it.
I'm there.
So what we have going on tonight, folks, is Phil Wirtz on assignment, being tasked by his wife to be at a certain location at a certain time, and it's an early birthday celebration for Phil, who's going to be celebrating the big 5-0 on Monday. So he's got the night off, and of course, got Ed Stark here with us, and the lovely and talented Jennifer Cash of the Blind Bard YouTube channel. And we've got some great guests tonight.
Yeah. Speaking of guests and speaking of events, Phil and I are currently going through all of our special guests, and we're going to be sending out notes to people saying, hey, we need some of your events, because not everybody has submitted their stuff. There are some really great events that are coming up, but we got to get more of them before July 1st. I don't want people to sign up for things and then be like, wait a minute, I could have played this game with Harold Johnson or something. So.
Now Harold's going to have to get his events in. Same with Frank Menser and Scott Douglas and Zeb Cook and some others that we're waiting on. And I see Leo Gerald is here, and he's actually here at Central New York RPG Con. He slid his credit card to the waitress at dinner tonight. When I was taking the Page crew to dinner, he took it upon himself to pay, which is bad form, but we'll let it slide this time.
That's really nice.
I thought maybe we were going to see him over your shoulder.
Well, some people know. I mean, listen, I'm in room 130 for those who are at the here at the convention. If you want to pop your heads in, you got to knock on the door because I do have it locked. And I see we've got Mike Saxton here, who's going to be here at the convention tomorrow, and we've got good old Daniel Lawrence, our dice guru and auction slave. He does very well there, but tonight we have with us, we've got Stan, the illustrator, with us tonight. He's also an RPG designer. And we've got Matt Balent of Palladium Books fame. And I like to talk about Matt. He's an RPG author that when you see what he's written, you go, oh, I have that book. And they never put Matt with the book, like, the weapons compendiums that Palladium Books came out with. And of course, recently he relaunched his Valley of the Pharoahs RPG for its 40th anniversary and had a successful Kickstarter. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in Stan now, and we're going to have him kick things off. And here we go. Oh, look, before we bring in Stan, we've got Wes Allen on with us, and we've got Anthony Simeone on with us. And Anthony is the one who uncovered that Wes stole the eggs at EcclesiaCon. And with that being said, we're going to jump right on over to Stan. And there he is.
Stan!
Hey! Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Good evening, Stan.
Hi,
Stan is in the place where we live.
Story about stolen eggs. I don't know. I feel like that should be the story of the evening.
Ron, you're never going to let him forget that, are you?
No, I will not. He's the pastor of a church, and he embezzled eggs from a charity auction, and they were found in his office when they were supposed to be on the auction. Ed was there. Ed witnessed it. Ed was there.
I remember we were frantically looking for the eggs for the auction, and
You physically
managed to
physically saw him steal the eggs.
No, but they were in his zone of control.
Yes, but that's not proof. That would not stand up in court.
I think it would.
Possession is 9/10 of the law.
I disagree.
Yeah. Hey, but on the Stan front, Stan and I have worked together. Well, we've known each other since either of us was working in the RPG industry.
Before that, yeah.
Yeah, but we've worked together for many years at West End Games and TSR and Wizards of the Coast, things like that. I went off into computer gaming. He stuck with tabletop, did a bunch of stuff, which I'm sure he'll tell you about. But in addition to being a great game designer and a creative director at times, he's also a terrific illustrator. And one of the things I like to do is get Stan to illustrate my the characters in the campaigns I'm running. And he just recently sent me this one. I'm going to share my screen. And this is a illustration that he did of all the characters in my game, including several people who are going to be guests at the show. In fact, I think only one of the characters or one of the players is not currently slated to be at the show. Ron, do you see me sharing the screen?
No.
Okay. I'll try it again.
Try again.
We seem to have this problem every once in a while.
Technology is hard.
Sharing again. There we go. That's hanging on my wall in my game room.
Wow, that's outstanding.
Very nice.
Thank you.
But one of the things we might have to have at the show would be people guessing what adventure this is from and which special guests are which characters. There are clues, but okay, I'll stop now. But I just wanted to show that work of fun art.
Stan, what for our viewers, what should they know your work from? What is your most prominent work that a viewer would say, oh, I know Stan's work?
So let's see. I did a lot of work on the Dragonlance 5th Age game, and a lot of supplements for Dragonlance stuff that was going on in the mid-90s. I was one of the co-designers for the Marvel Saga game, the Marvel superhero adventure game It came out early in the Wizards days. I wrote the Crab Clan novel for Legend of the Five Rings. I was the lead designer together with Bill Slavacek on the Pokemon Junior role-playing game, which
at the time was
Greg is by one important measure the best-selling role-playing game of all time.
Yep.
Um,
Sold 500,000 copies, I think, right?
It sold 800,000
copies
in its first year. Yeah. And I did the comic strip Bolt and Quiver, which ran in Dungeon or Dungeon Polyhedron.
I think it's in Dragon as well.
No, the comic didn't run in Dragon. I did some illos for Dragon, but the comic was always in Dungeon.
Okay.
And I did 10x10 Toon, which is a comic that ran in every issue of Kobold Quarterly that ever came out. So lots of different things.
You also worked on
one of the challenges for
Tank
me
Girl
is
RPG.
What
You also worked on the Tank Girl RPG.
I did, yes, and I bet most people don't even know there was a Tank Girl.
I bet Ron has one.
No comment. We have a couple of questions in the chat for Stan. One, Stan, did you officially change your name to include the exclamation
I did
point?
not. That is just a. It is not a legal change. It's a creative change.
It's his pen name. It's his pen name. All right. The second question is, does Stan work in D&D Stranger Things?
I designed the adventure that there was a Stranger Things D&D basic box set that got published about 7 years ago, I think. And I did I just wrote the adventure that went with that, and I did the first pass on the rules booklet. But then
that was amazingly popular for Wizards, if I remember correctly.
It was really funny because Wizards didn't get to sell that at all. That was all Hasbro.
Or was it Hasbro?
Yeah, but they wanted Wizards to provide, understandably, to provide the guts for it. But that was all sold as a Hasbro product.
Did anybody notice Ed exited screen right but re-entered screen left?
He's in a looped
Anybody
universe.
else notice that? I noticed it. He's like in a
I'm
Scooby-Doo
the fastest man alive. That's why I'm wearing the red shirt.
Stan, what do you have going on right now, professionally?
I did all of the art for an upcoming card game that Kobold Press is going to be releasing called Necromancer. So I did that. Was a good chunk of what I did last year. Was all of the illustrations for the cards, and they even used one of my illos as part of the logo. So that's coming up. I do a lot of work. Another thing people might know me from, I do a lot of work with Viz Media, who publishes manga in English, and I do localization, which is I rewrite text from literal translation into the text that's actually used in the books when they get printed.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I've done about 225 volumes of that over the years. So I'm working right now on an upcoming volume of manga called Record of Ragnarok. That's what I'm working on immediately at the moment. Yeah, and I'm getting some stuff ready for Page and other conventions, and I'm hoping. I've only said this in one of my podcasts this week. I'm hoping to do a crowdfunding soon to sell some greeting cards, some birthday cards using designs that I've done over the years, so that people can buy them and use them for themselves.
Well, I think that
Yeah.
would be neat. I
You
think
did
that
a
would be
calendar
incredible.
last year.
I
That
could-
was very
I did a
cool.
calendar. I do. So yeah, another thing people probably know me for now is started in January of last year. I started doing a weekly show to celebrate the 50th anniversary of D&D and tabletop role-playing game, and it's called 50 Years in the Dungeon. And each week on the show, I would have a guest on. Ed was a guest once or twice.
Twice.
And while we're talking about their time working in the industry, I will at the same time be drawing a cartoon homage to a classic game piece of gaming art. And I wound up putting together a calendar. Look, I've got one right here. Calendar with some of the art that I did in the first half of last year.
And that's a question we have from the audience. They're asking. One of the questions is, will there be a 2026 calendar?
Maybe the 2025 one was it was a successful Kickstarter, but it did not it was not hugely successful, and so it has to vie with other things for my attention, and I have to decide that as a freelance person, designer, cartoonist, whatever, I've got to pick the things that are going to, on the whole, give the best return. And so a lot of worthwhile projects kind of get put to the side. I hope so. I think at the very least, I'll make one available for digital purpose or print on demand. But depending on how things work out, I may do another Kickstarter to print one and send them out that way. That way people can get
Stan,
extras.
do you have a link to the Kobold Press Kickstarter that you could post in chat?
Kobold Press is over. Their Kickstarter is over.
No wonder I couldn't find it.
Yeah, no, the game is available for pre-order on the Kobold Press site.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay, I'll look again.
But it will be out for Gen Con. I was just talking with Wolfgang Bauer, the head of Kobold, a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, the order's in, the printing's getting done, and exactly when it's going to arrive and exactly what the tariff responsibilities are, no one knows, but it should be here for Gen Con or sooner."
Great. Now, Stan, we're going to put you on the spot here. We're going to see if you can whip up a quick illustration related to Paige while we bring on Matt Balent, our other guest. You see, we're gonna test it. Ed told me to do this, to put you on the spot with it.
Well, one of the reasons we want to do that is because an event that we're going to be running at Page is going to be me DMing an adventure while Stan illustrates it. So
yeah,
we're looking forward to that.
That will be fun.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna bring Matt Balent on, unless Jenn, do you have a question for Stan before we bring Matt onto the program?
I do. I was wondering, what's your favorite piece of art that you've done over the years?
Wow. That's I don't even think that way.
Is there a memorable piece of art?
Ed mentioned earlier the Tank Girl role playing game. The very first thing I did when I got to West End Games, they needed a hand drawn map to go with that, and so that was my very first assignment, was to do. It couldn't look too good because it's supposed to go with Tank Girl. It's supposed to feel part of the world, and that suits my skills just fine.
Any world with Lori Petty is a beautiful world.
Do you remember my contribution to the map?
I do not.
There was a fly buzzing around the office, so I caught it and squished it on the map.
That's great. And we also had our the head of the sales department put on some lipstick and put some lip marks on one of the corners of the map too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
the head of the sales department. He did a great job selling Torque.
There are some stories I can tell you
That's
about
my
that.
that's my West End Games jab of the night. But all right, we're gonna go ahead. Somebody's asking, are there any tasteful nudes of Ed in Stan's art
None.
book?
Okay. Look, there might be nudes, but they're not tasteful.
What do you think this is? Archie Comics?
Yes. All right, we're gonna bring Matt Balent on. Totally appropriate for. Oh, look at that.
We'll see what Stan comes up with illustratively.
But
my wife Jennifer has checked
other than
in.
just page related.
No, I no. Let your muse carry you.
Oh God.
And there we have Matt Balent. Hey, how are you, Matt?
Doing great. Thank you. Friday
Matt,
the 13th. Wonderful day.
Matt, as I described earlier, I often describe you as almost any RPG collector has something with a byline from Matt Balent on it, and they don't even know it. Can you take us through the history of some of the products you worked on?
Well, probably the one that's most known. Oh, I've got my mirror on. Can I change that? Just
zoom into his screen.
I got to change it. It's got a mirror background. I got to turn that off. Mirror the camera. Okay. All right. There we go. So now you can actually see what it is I'm showing you. This is probably my most famous work that was done in 1981 originally for Palladium Books, and the Weapons and Armor book, which was a huge success for Palladium and really helped launch that company, gave them the working capital that they needed to produce a role-playing game and a lot of subsequent works. They really got their feet underneath them with that product. But that's something I'd been working on in high school and then into college. 1981, when it was put out, I was, let's see, I think I was a sophomore or a junior. I forget now. What is it when you go to college for 5 years and you're in your third year? Whatever that term is, that's when it was.
It means you're behind. It means you're behind. That's what that means.
Yeah, that's right. Too much role playing. But that book, and then subsequently we put out the second one, Weapons and Castles. Those are probably my most famous works, and each of those sold well over 100,000 copies each over the years. They're still in print. You can still get them from Palladium. They have different covers than the original ones that I showed, but they're still available. But yeah, I did. I met Kevin through actually that book. I produced a small weapons booklet on my own, and he had started his company and produced his first game called the Mechanoid Invasion. And he took that to Gen Con in 1981. And I was not able to attend Gen Con then. And so we made a deal where he brought a bunch of my books with him. And he likes to say for every one copy of his game book, which went for a whopping $375, he sold 4 of mine, which was like $4 back in the day. So he saw the keen interest in it, and so we made a deal when he got back from Gen Con, and we reissued it, added information about armor, European primarily armor, and the rest, as they say, is history. But I also did a lot of work for him, doing layout, paste ups of the actual books he did. what was then called key lining. I guess it's still called key lining today, but everything's done on computers today. Back in those days, it was all a manual process using cardboard, grid paper, and wax. Yep. Well, not quite that, but it's on a similar technology.
I remember when we had to make corrections, you had to print out stuff on a sticky paper, cut it out with an X-Acto knife, and glue it onto the page.
Yep, that's exactly it. And some of those early Palladium products, you can see that sometimes there's a little, the little paste on correction got, got pushed out of alignment, probably at the printers. And so, it's not quite 100% right, but yeah, I did a lot of that kind of work for probably about up to around 1990, and a lot of work on his Palladium role-playing game, his various supplements to that. Heroes Unlimited was another game I worked on. He bought a Vietnam role-playing game called Recon from the original designer, a gentleman by the name of Joe Martin. I befriended him at a convention, and really, I loved his game. So when he was looking to get out of the business, he approached us and Kevin bought his intellectual property from him and reissued that. A lot of other supplementary games. Did a lot of work on his Robotech, and then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books that all came out in the 80s. Did a lot of work on that. My name is in most of those books. Attribution mostly for key lining and layout, that sort of stuff is primarily what I did. I did some writing in some of the things, but primarily was production work.
You were the author on After the Bomb, correct?
I wrote part of that. The main author was Eric Wujcik, the guy who wrote the original Turtles game, and I did some of the supplementary materials in some of the adventures in that book. So yeah, I have a writing credit on that, but it's just a partial one.
Let's talk a little about Valley of the Pharaohs. I mean, you wrote that back in the 80s, right? For Palladium, correct?
Yep. Here's the current one. Yes, 1983. And that year is really a blur for me. I finally got out of school, exiting college, going into the workforce, doing a lot of writing and work for Palladium. We also had a group of us were launching a business called the Michigan Gaming Center. So there was a lot of work involved in that. 1983 also was Origins was in Detroit, and I did the program book for that, did the layout and the production on that. So I don't know how I had the time to write that game, but I did, and it came out. And back in those days, there was a lot of experimentation in terms of not only games and game design, but also just how to present the product. And we had this idea of doing like a boxed game, which, I mean, in hindsight was not a very good decision, because one of the big selling points of Palladium really from the beginning is the quality of the artwork and the illustration. If you look back to the original, say the white box sets and even the home set of D&D and some of the other game companies of that time, the illustration quality was really all over the map and generally poor. But Kevin, being a professionally trained artist and had cut his teeth in comics, he was an outstanding artist, and he was able to do and insist on high quality work for all of his products. And that was really a selling point. So, we did a lot of really wonderful illustrations for this Pharoahs game, but then we put them in a box and shrink wrapped it so you couldn't see it anyway.
One of the other things that TSR learned quickly and West End Games benefited from too was if you put it in a book, you actually could sell it in more venues, because back then, of course, none of the bookstores or anything were equipped to handle boxes. I mean, you go into a Barnes and Noble now, and of course, there's a whole game section or whatever. But back then, the Walden Books and other places that bought books wouldn't even consider carrying a box set.
Yeah, that's true as well. But I think, I mean, the main failing of the game, well, not only was it in a box, and that was not a good designed decision, if you will, but just the deadlines that we had set for when we had to get it produced. It was put out at the very end of 1983. And with everything that was going on, I really wasn't able to do all of what I wanted to do in that game. And primarily, I didn't have an adventure. I didn't have an example of how the game would run or how I envisioned the game would be played. And that was a big detriment too, because in many regards, there really wasn't a whole lot of information about how a game master should structure the game, how the party should be composed, that sort of thing. Because it was for the time, I pat myself on the back. It was a pretty revolutionary design in many respects. I mean, I did away with the idea of levels and experience points, and I made it an entirely skill-based system. In my reissue of the game, I've had a number of people really say how much they enjoy that, and that they really like that aspect of the game very much. So I'm kind of proud of the fact that I came up with that. And it wasn't in a vacuum. I had played a fair amount of Bushido, which was a role-playing game, came out in, I think, 78 or 79.
I happen to know
that had a very big emphasis on skills as well.
I happen to know Stan is a big fan of Bushido.
I am.
I think we both still have box sets, don't we?
I've got several different editions of Bushido.
Yeah.
What do we got there? Oh, can't wait to dig in the page. There's Stan's off the cuff design right there.
Awesome.
Wonderful, Stan.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, I will add, Matt, you mentioned that the artwork was kind of all over the place in the early days. That was all pre-Stan, though. And once Stan got involved in the industry, it really got everything going.
Yeah.
I'm not the best, but I'm quick.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a number of, Janelle Jaques, of course, Jeff D. They were some really, really well-regarded artists and brought a...
Stan and I both had the pleasure of working with Dave Sutherland, from back in the day.
You mentioned Jeff D., Matt, and let's talk about you and Paige. I invited you out to the first page, the inaugural page.
Yep.
You took the risk of coming to a first year convention, but you hadn't been guesting at game conventions for some time, correct?
No, I was essentially out of role playing for almost 30 years. I exited the scene in the early 90s, and I just drifted away from it. Basically, I went off and did a bunch of other things with my life. Of course, I had a job. I still work today. I'm a computer programmer. But I learned blacksmithing. I became a master blacksmith. Had a couple of kids. Raised kids. Got into martial arts. Became a black belt in karate. So I did a bunch of other things. And then, my kids got me back into role playing when they got older in high school and joined a D&D group. And it was like, oh, let me show you some books that your old man did way back in the day.
Well, and interestingly, one of your children helps you at Page, correct?
Yes, my daughter Rhiannon helps quite a bit, and she'll be there again in January.
That's great. So you come to Page, and you're basically going to sell some of your older stuff. Get you set up with a little booth, and we put you on a panel called "The Early Days of RPGs."
Yep.
And you're on that panel with Jeff D., Steve Marsh, Frank Menser, and Matt Balent, and many of the key points and some of the most poignant thoughts that came out of that came from you. And I was patting myself on the back after that panel, going, "See, just after talking to Matt a few times online, I knew he would be a good guest." But talk about what transpired there that helped move Valley of the Pharoahs forward.
Well, just getting back in touch, I guess, with the gaming community. I mean, there's many people there that are maybe not quite as old as me, but within 5 to 10 years of me. And, thinking back on how much enjoyment I had in the hobby back in those days, that was, it's like a sense of nostalgia. And I mean, I had a great time back then. I mean, not everything was roses and wonderfulness there. I mean, there were some dark times too. Everybody has those, but I really came to realize how much I kind of missed the game scene. I mean, like I said, for 30 years, I'd been to a few, comic book type shows, those kinds of things, mostly with my kids, because my kids were big into Pokemon, just like most younger children are these days. Back in the day, this is, say, the middle teens, 2008 to say 2014 or so. And, and that was kind of the same vibe, but not really. And, I went to so many, I went to Gen Con for 10 years in a row back in the early days, went to Origins all the time. And in Michigan, there was a group, they put on a convention twice a year, once in the summer and then once in December. And so I was really involved a lot in gaming conventions, and just being back in that, amongst my peers, it was very, very enjoyable. Everybody was so gracious. And it also allowed me to get some appreciation of exactly the contributions that I had made. Because I never really thought about it. It's like, yeah, I did this weapons book. Yeah, I did these books, but that was 30 years ago.
The weapons and armor book, the castles book, they're iconic pieces in many gamers' collections. So anybody who was gaming in the early 80s had those books in their collection.
Yeah.
You also were able to bring Jeff D on board to do your artwork for your Kickstarter of the 40th anniversary of.
Yeah, Jeff wanted to do a cover, and I had, I was a little bit familiar with his work from back in the original, deities and demigods, and back those early, what is that, advanced Dungeons and Dragons books from the early 80s, early to middle 80s.
Yeah,
and so,
the adventures.
He was a name that I remembered, and then he did a superhero game as well that I remember from back in those days. And so when he kind of approached me saying, "Hey, I want to do I want to do the cover," and it's like, okay. Because I really didn't have anybody in mind or even any real ideas of what to do, but that really helped.
Kind of push you along. It kind of pushed you along, huh?
Yeah.
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 Now let's get to the key question, and then we're going to have Jenn, because Jenn's always gathering questions to ask the guests. But so you said the weapons and armor book and the castles books are still in print.
Yeah.
Most important, are you getting checks still from
sales
on those?
No, that's not how our agreement was.
Oh, okay. Listen,
but that's okay.
You're going to be in Philly, and know Kevin's going to be in Philly. Do we need to have a talk with him?
No.
Okay, I'm just saying.
No. I was just in Michigan this past weekend and spent time with Kevin. No, we're great friends.
Okay.
No, that's as many people know, if you've followed the history of Palladium, they've had their ups and downs. They almost went out of business more than once.
Right.
And it was during one of these really dire times that Kevin and I had a conversation, and I basically released him from the contract and told him that I was more than satisfied with what I had been paid over the years for my work, and that as far as I was concerned, I wanted to see Palladium survive and succeed. And, again, it's not like these books are selling hundreds or thousands of copies a year now. There may be 100 here, a couple hundred there, that sort of thing. And that level, I'm more than happy to just give that money to my friend to promote his business.
And that speaks volumes about you and your character and your empathy for other people, and it makes me even happier that you were one of the first guests at Page. So we appreciate that.
I'm happy to come, and I'll tell you right now, Ron, I will go as long as I am physically able to go, and you have a convention, because one of the big reasons, is, if you recall, on that Facebook group, I had some old dice I wanted to sell, and I had absolutely no idea.
Yeah, I helped you. I helped you out there. Yes, I saved you from yourself.
Yes, and I really appreciated that, and that says volumes about your character, and I really appreciated that, and that gave me an eye opener into the collectible hobby, if you will, because I had absolutely no idea what was going on. I knew I had a bunch of old stuff, and there's probably people who would be interested in it. But my kids weren't, so I wasn't going to hand it down to them. And I really appreciated you. Somebody who you did not know from anyone, just from anybody on the street, and you saved me several $100s.
Yeah, and I see Daniel Lawrence, the preeminent dice expert on the within the collectors community. Daniel, just so you know, they were Creative Publications dice that had been misidentified as Holmes dice. So it was quite a difference in the amount of money there. Is those who kind of catch what I'm putting down. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times the amount of money as Holmes dice.
I have kind of a fun question for the group, since we've been talking about like the old days of role playing games. The early days. I believe most or all of us played games back in those days. Other than Dungeons and Dragons, what was the first game you played? Whether you ran it, whether you played it, whether you just bought it and read the heck out of it. Starting with Matt.
Well, the first game outside of D&D that I got into, and I'll just give you a little bit of family history. I have a brother who's about 2 years older than me, and he went to. We lived in Detroit, and when he got out of high school, he went to the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And Ann Arbor in those days was, as a college town, it was like a hub for games. And he got this book, a game called Chivalry and Sorcery from Fantasy Games Unlimited.
Yep.
And he thought, he showed it to me because I was running a D&D campaign with that he had been part of and was still part of during the summer when he was not in school. But that was the first game that I can remember past D&D. Now, I also have to say, I did buy an early old version of Tunnels and Trolls when it was basically a bunch of papers stapled together. That was the rule book.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't, that was, there was not a whole lot there really at that time. And so it was like, well, this is kind of interesting, but I put it aside. I didn't really get into it. Whereas Chivalry and Sorcery had so much background material and, was really a lot of information that I found intriguing and brought into my game. And then of course, also around that same time is when Judges Guild got started. I was like many other people, they had some sort of membership. It was like a judges membership thing that they were touting before stuff even came out. I think they had their City of the Invincible Overlord or something was their first product. And I bought that and it was just great. And I sent in, it's like, here, take my money, and joined that. And because part of the problem that I had is, yes, I had a dungeon designed, but I didn't have the time to do like the surrounding country, or maybe there's a castle over here and a city. And that just took a huge amount of time to do. So I never really got all into that. So my campaign was primarily, well, you travel from the inn that you live at and you're at the dungeon and you go into the dungeon. And then you come out of the dungeon, you go back to the inn. There was nothing else in that world.
Yeah, there's a door in the side of a mountain. Hey, Stan, I think I know the answer to this, but I want to see if I'm right. But what was your first game other than D&D?
So there are two answers to that. One is when I'd been introduced to D&D and then couldn't get a copy of it. It was just not available. And then so what I got, it was a copy of the Dungeons and Dragons coloring book, which had a little board game. It's like a light version of the dungeon board game in the center of it. And that's kind of the first hobby game I bought and owned. But the big game that I was playing is, as mentioned earlier, Jeff Dee's superhero game, Villains and Vigilantes. That was the big game for the 80s for me. beyond D&D. That was our big 8-year campaign, and where I kind of cut my game design teeth doing homebrew stuff for that game.
Mm. I remember seeing some of the illustrations you and the rest of the Binghamton crew would do for characters. We had Fish Guy, for one thing, Fish Boy. There's a funny story. Villains and Vigilantes wasn't actually my first one. It was probably my second after D&D. But there's a funny story with that because I got a first printing of Villains and Vigilantes, and it came with an adventure. I believe it was Crisis at Crusader Citadel.
Yeah.
And we were playing it, and the math wasn't working out. I was like, these villains, their strengths and everything are way off compared to the heroes. I don't understand. And so I went back and I looked at the formula, and the formula printed in the book was wrong. So I, did some calculus and fixed the formula so that it matched up with what the villains were. And we redesigned all our characters to do that. And then, of course, this is back in the days when everything was snail mail. I had filled out my registration card. I got sent a little booklet of Villains and Vigilantes errata. And one of the things that was in there was that formula. So I'm like, hey, I'm a game designer. I figured this out. But,
as you can see on the chat there, Leo Gerald, clearly the king of romance.
Yeah. Oh, Dragon Strike. That video played in the TSR castle over and over and over.
Now you're working together.
Jenn, what questions do you have?
I was wondering if your game will be part of page 3. Are you running any games?
Who's it addressed to? Me?
Matt, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I think I submitted in one event, but I'm probably going to expand that. I was at a small convention in Oregon about a month ago called Wagon Con, and I ran 3 sessions, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and really just had a wonderful time. And I think I'm going to emulate that at Page. I think I signed up initially for a Friday game, and I think I'm going to expand it to Saturday and Sunday as well.
Wait, Matt. That's like a dagger to my heart. Are you cheating on Page with Wagon Con?
Well, they invited me. Come on.
Hey, you gotta go if you have an invitation.
Yeah. He's
turning into America's guest.
No, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it's a much smaller event, but all the it's got a wonderful group of people. It's a nonprofit. They raise money for local charities as well in their auction, that sort of thing. So it was a lot of fun to go. But yes, but getting back to the question at hand, yes, I am running. And like I said, I'm going to plan on doing three events, probably 3 totally separate scenarios. So if you're someone who really likes the game or wants to play, sign up for all 3, because they will be 3 different adventures. It's not the same one 3 times. It'll be 3 different adventures.
Oh, good to know.
My precious flower of a wife adding a touch of class to the discussion about conventions. He's allowed to have a side piece convention.
Oh,
My gentle flower, Jennifer.
Well, I mean, I was also at a convention up here in Charlotte a few weeks back too. So,
what is going on here? You're like you're getting as bad as Ronan Wong.
Well, try. I got a book to sell.
So, what things have you made? You said you did blacksmithing. What kinds of things have you made?
Well, everybody asks, do you make knives? And I have made a few knives, but that's too fiddly. I don't like doing that. It's too fiddly. You got to grind and polish and all that kind of stuff. But I concentrated primarily on colonial era reproductions, ironwork,
Ooh,
things that would be used in a hearth or for cooking, campfire sets. Also did a fair amount of garden related things, plant stands and trellises and things like that for gardens.
nice.
I used to do, I used to do the art fair / craft show circuit in the Detroit, Michigan area. I did that for about 5 or 6 years, and I was always envious of the photographers or the watercolor people because they could carry their whole display in a milk carton.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing ironwork, I had a full size work van stuffed to the gills with stuff because it was so much larger. I also did a lot of stuff with stained glass as well. I used to buy glass from a company in West Virginia. They're very well known, actually, called Blanco Glass. They're one of America's premier glass makers, and I used to go to their facility and buy glass from them and incorporate that into my garden stuff. So, but I'd still dabble in it. I have a workshop, but not nearly as much as I used to.
Yeah, I hear you. I used to do the fair circuit too, only I made like scarves and bags and all sorts of knitted stuff. It's not easy.
No, by no means. No, it's not.
Well, I'd like to point out that, Bad Mike Battalato has joined the program, and, he's graciously letting us have Ronan back after a whirlwind weekend at North Texas RPG Con. So, all right, Jen, any other questions for our guests? That sounds like a no.
It's like no.
I do have one.
Don't ask them where babies come from.
Come on, Ron. This is supposed to be a PG rated show.
Don't worry, they're gamers. They don't know.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering.
A D10 and a D8 love each other very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
Roll Constitution check.
Sorry, what were you going to say, Jen?
I was just going to ask if either of you have any house rules that you'd like to share with us for your games.
If the die goes off the table, it doesn't count.
That's fair.
The basic house rule I have is we'll argue about it for about 5 minutes. I'll make a decision, and that'll stand for tonight, and we'll look it up later.
Yeah.
5 minutes is all we get to argue for a thing. Then the game goes on.
Yeah.
See, that's interesting. My rule's the 30-second rule.
I'm
if
a
you want
little
to talk,
laxer
if you want to talk about it, we'll talk about it for 30 seconds. And
but I'm gaming mostly with other game designers, and they won't stand for that.
Well, we have a rule at our table. Anything that is said out loud is also said in game. So you got to be really careful what you say.
Oh my God!
Boy.
Yeah, that wouldn't fly at my table.
I'd fail that.
Yeah. Well, in the games I've been running in my Pharoahs game, because I'm the designer, and I don't consider anything that I wrote to be the be all and the end all. If a player makes a compelling enough argument, I'm definitely interested in that and willing to change the outcome.
I also play with a lot of game designers, and we have been known to rewrite the rules at the table.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, we just did this last week.
Did you rewrite? Did you rewrite the Torg rules, Ed?
Well, actually, I did. That was what Shatterzone and Masterbook became.
Oh.
But yeah,
both equally as successful.
they actually did pretty well. But I mean, remember, West End Games is a small company with no marketing budget. There are whole stories about that.
Yeah.
And
The-
Torg, I
Ron,
don't know
did
if
you
you've
see
seen it.
your
The
did you
Ulysses
see your
Steel
wife's
version of
comment?
Torg is amazing. What's that?
I did. My wife is looking for Matt to make a chandelier for our edition. It's going up at our house. Yes, I saw that. Hey, Matt, get me a Matt, get me a
You gotta
price.
give me some dimensions. Give me some dimensions.
I'll leave that. I'll leave that to her. I'll leave that to her. You gotta talk to me about the price.
Yeah.
But I'll let the design work. She can have creative control there. We
Yeah,
do
at
have a
least three dimensions.
we do have a question that is going to keep coming up until Matt Archibald gets an answer about this, because he does ask me this often. Could Ed be persuaded to run a birthright game at page 3? That's you, Ed Stark.
I think he's asking if somebody can persuade me.
Well,
Give it a shot if you want. You can try.
Well, all right.
I'm going to be doing a bunch of other stuff.
Would you look at this? Would you look at this? This is the latest thing here. Don't worry, Matt. I don't think any of us will live long enough for the house to be finished. I'll get to it next weekend, honey.
Yeah.
I expect to come out there someday and just see a smoking ruin covered in chickens.
Yeah, well, that happens. Could happen. Stan,
Yes.
Matt, any closing thoughts?
Looking forward to coming to Philadelphia in January.
Yep. Yeah, I am.
We got a second on the birthright campaign, the birthright game, Ed.
We'll see if I have time. I am running it at Game Hole.
Well, I guess I'm looking forward to Paige. I know Kevin Simbita is looking forward to coming as well. It should be a lot of fun. And everybody, bring your old Palladium stuff if you want it signed.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and
I remember
having Kevin there. Yeah,
he wore
Make
Zeb
sure
out
Kevin
when
gets
signed
writer's
last
cramp by
year.
the end of the show.
Ron had Zeb sit down and sign like a stack of books this high.
stack of second edition players handbooks. Yes, I did. The play copies in my game room are signed by Zeb Cook.
Oh, wow.
See, that's one of the opportunities I take to write revised rules. I actually had that happen with a Shatterzone game. We decided we were going to revise one of the rules after it was printed. And so every time somebody asked me to sign the book, I would go to that page and I would rewrite the rule. I don't remember what the rule was off the top of my head, but I remember doing that dozens of times.
Dozens of people asked you to sign a Shatterzone book?
Well, yeah.
Are you sure? Are you exaggerating just a little bit?
Nope. We sold over 20,000 of the box set, and we sold it as individual books as well.
Did you sell? Now, this is going to be a fair question, knowing what I know about West End games.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sell 20,000 of the box set at the
Over 20,000?
No, let me finish. At the normal distributor cost, or were you giving them away like Torg at the end, where like you could get a Torg box set for like $2, and the die was worth $2?
Well,
so it was well worth it.
The deep discount stuff was way past the time I was there.
Okay.
One of the things people don't remember is that West End Games at one time, other than TSR, was the only game company that was selling through bookstores.
Uh-huh.
We sold in Walden Books, B. Dalton's, everything like that. So we actually had many more sales than people thought. The original Star Wars D6 sold well over 80,000 copies in its first 4 years. Shatter Zone, I think, while I was there in the 2 years that it was out, sold over 20,000 copies of the box set, plus a whole bunch of the books. It was fairly strong. It never got to the numbers that they wanted. And then Master Book, Stan, you were there for more of that. The main Master Book set sold pretty well, and then they just kept doing those crazy licenses. I mean, I think there was like a Tales from the Crypt one, and
anytime I can do one of these about West End games. All right.
You were the one who was looking for Price of Freedom the other day.
I got it. I did. And I'm going to run a game. I'm going to run a little campaign of that. But Stan, do you have anything to leave us with, or Matt?
People should tune in to my YouTube channel. Watch my weekly. I have 2 weekly shows. At The Real Stanex is my.
You should post links. It's easier for people to find them.
I don't have access to.
You can send them to the private chat, and then Ron can post them, or you could post them on the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo. I mean, you're a guest. We're happy to support you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up after the stream.
Yeah.
Yep.
You ever have guests on your show, Stan?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, I know a guy running a convention.
Well, he should probably talk to me.
All right. Well,
Yep.
we'll get one of my people to get right on that. Let's here we go. Here's Stan's link, and Stan and Matt, thanks for coming on tonight.
Sure.
We look forward to seeing you both at Page, if not sooner, on this program. And Stan, thanks for doodling up that artwork. Well, if you could throw it on the Page Facebook page so everybody can nerd out over it, that'd be great.
I'll do that. And as Ed was saying, at Page, he and I are doing an event where when I'm gaming, anyone who's gaming with me knows I'm constantly drawing little cartoons about what's happening in the game. So we'll be doing an event at Page where Ed will be running the game and I will be drawing the cartoon highlights of what happens during the game. And
then anybody who plays will get, if they are willing to give us their email, we'll send them copies of it. We can
send them a little PDF with all the cartoons. Yeah.
Site,
That's great.
That's awesome.
Sure.
All right. Well, we're gonna let you fellas go, and we appreciate you coming on, and we will
and wonderful.
We will chat with you soon.
You're welcome to stick around and watch the rest of the show. I think let me see. We probably have a special guest announcement eventually. Do we have any giveaways this week?
We do. We have a giveaway from Frog God Games, and we'll go ahead and we'll ask a question right after we let our guests go, and we'll see who was paying attention tonight during the program.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stan.
Thanks for coming.
Very much.
Thanks,
you both.
Matt. All right. What a program. That was a lot of fun chatting with those two.
It sure was.
So just a little homage to Phil here. We're not going to do the tremendous recap that Phil does every week, but we did announce a few guests this week. We announced Scott Waterd and Yamil Camacho, and we continue to work hard to get all the events in. So our gold badge holders have a good variety of events to choose from when they can begin selecting their individual events on July 1st. Right now we have well over 450 events on the schedule, and we're working to get all our seminars and panels on the schedule as well, which are we have a tremendous number of panel and seminar submissions, and the content this year is going to be great. I mean, Ed, I know you've been looking through them, but I'm very impressed by our content this year.
Nice mix, very nice mix.
We're going to have a few games for the gold badge holders that are going to be exclusive to the gold badge holders on Thursday night, beginning at 7:00. We're going to highlight some of those next week. I can tell you that one of them is a charity game where all the proceeds from the event fees are going to fund our gamer assistance program. And it's going to be also one of our page-specific adventures that will be available to be purchased via print at the convention, Tomb of the Ancient War King. It's something I'm very happy with. I'm glad to see it coming to life. And we're going to do a little bit more with it after the convention, but at the convention we'll have print copies available, and I'll be DMing that game on Thursday night. Speaking of the Gamer Assistance Program, I'm happy to announce that we have given out over $10,000 to gamers in need through that program, including a couple of gamers this week that really hit some issues, game designer and an artist to be specific. And, we're going to continue to do that. And listen, we don't really get into the details of who we give money to. It's up to them if they want to, thank us publicly, or, we don't ask for it, but we don't want to highlight when we give money to somebody because they've suffered some kind of tragedy or they've fallen on hard times. It's just not a marketing. It's not a marketing point for us. We're happy just doing the good as opposed to promoting the, who we're doing it with, because we don't want to embarrass anybody or make anybody feel bad that they're in a bad situation. But I couldn't be happier with the way the program is working, and that we've really been able to help some people that are having a hard time in life. So, that's great. Frog God Games, $25 gift certificate. Whoever can put in the chat first, what was Stan's favorite role-playing game in the 1980s? The first person to put it into the chat will earn a $25 credit on Frog God Games' website.
Come on, somebody had to be paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Nobody at all. I'll give you a hint. Stan says you got to spell it right too. Well, I think we're out. I'll give you a hint. The designer of that particular game was mentioned in the third person several times throughout tonight's program.
We're asking, what was Stan's favorite game in the 1980s?
He and his friends played the heck out of it, and they homebrewed the heck out of it. All right. Well, I guess our sponsor, our our very great sponsor, Frog God Games, is going to save $25 tonight. The correct answer is Villains and Vigilantes. So all these people watching on YouTube and Facebook, you should hang your head in shame right now. Okay. We're going to announce a new special guest this week. Who did we announce last week? Scott Woodard?
I
don't remember.
I think we announced Scott Woodard last week.
I mean, we definitely announced him last week. I don't remember if it was on the show or not.
I think we did. And we're gonna reach back to another OG of the gaming industry this week, and we're happy to announce that since North Texas RPG Con annexed Ronan Wong, we're going to return the favor, and we're happy to announce that Alan Hammock will be at the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo in January.
For those who don't know Alan's name, what's he famous for?
The Ghost Tower of Inverness, or Inverness, or so Alan's a quality person. I always enjoy when I run into him at conventions, and he expressed an interest to one of our other guests out at North Texas about coming to Page, and we were able to work that out and make that happen.
Ghost Tower of Inverness, where you can lose your soul at the very end.
Listen, many of us lost our souls immediately when we started playing D&D. All right, Jen, Ed, thanks, guys. Tonight was a good show. We had a good viewership tonight concurrently between Facebook and YouTube. And, as is our tradition, we're going to let Jen take us out.
Okay. Well, I hope to see you guys here next week. We didn't talk about who we're having on the program next week, Ron.
Oh, well, I did post it. Let's take a look. We can talk about the next couple of weeks, actually. Let's see. I'm just scrolling back because my memory's not what it used to be.
Yeah, we don't want to get it wrong. I'm doing the same thing. See who gets there first.
Isn't it?
Here we go.
Heidi Gygax Garland?
It's Heidi Gygax Garland and Eric Garland will be on next week. They're going to be talking about what they have going on with Gaxland, as well as EggCon coming up, which I'm super excited to be a guest at EggCon this year, and I'll be the auctioneer at the auction there. And then on the 27th of June, we only have one guest, and it's Frank Menser.
So we got some heavy hitters coming up.
Sounds like
we do.
Great lineup.
Yeah, and we've actually started to fill in some of July. We're not quite filled in on all the dates yet. July 4th falls on a Friday, so the hosts, we're going to talk amongst ourselves and see if we're going to have a program that day, and if we do, we'll see who we can get on for that. But thank you both, and thanks to our guests tonight, Stan and Matt Balent, and we will let Jen take us the rest of the way out.
All right. Well, we will be here next week, same time, same place. And if you have the opportunity tomorrow, I will be streaming on my channel, The Blind Bard, starting at 10 a.m. So feel free to pop in and say hi. Love to chat with you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Have a great week, and see you guys real soon.
Jen, real quick, feel free to share that stream as it's happening onto the page group if you want.
Oh,
Grab
okay.
some more viewers.
You'll have to show me how to do that.
Okay, we can talk about that.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.